Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this full council meeting. Could I begin by please reading out the evacuation procedure? A fire drill is not expected, so if the alarm sounds, please evacuate the building quickly and calmly. Please use the stairs. We have the doors at each side. Do not use the lifts. Once outside of the building, please gather outside the Yorkshire Bank on the opposite side of the road. Exit by the door by which you entered the room or by the fire exits, which are clearly indicated by the standard green fire exit signs. If you need any assistance in evacuating the building, please make yourself known to a member of staff. Please make sure all your mobile phones are turned off or silent. Thank you. Item 2 is apologies. Do we have any apologies for this evening? We have none. Item 3, filming. All members are requested to turn on their microphones before speaking, to speak clearly into the microphone in front of them, and remember to turn it off when they have finished speaking. A microphone will be provided for members of the public to use who have notified that they wish to speak. Moving on to item 4, minutes. To confirm the following minutes. A, annual council, but you will need to note there is an error on page 9, as the deputy leader is Councillor Phillips rather than Councillor Lloyd. Do we approve the minutes of the meeting with that change from the annual council meeting held on the 15th of May 2019, page 7 of your agenda? Is that agreed? Following on with the extraordinary meeting held on the 15th of May 2019 on page 21 of your agenda, is that agreed? And moving on to the extraordinary meeting held on the 10th of June 2019, page 27 on your agenda, are those minutes agreed? Thank you. Declarations of interest. All the declarations of interest are within the documents that you have. Councillor.
As of Thursday, I've been appointed Treasurer of Nuneaton Conservatives. Sorry, Wendy.
Do we have any further declarations of interest? First one, and the most important for my charity, is that on Saturday in the town centre, the council's charity store, we are holding a tombola for the mayor's charity. Hopefully some of you will be able to come along and support us. But one of the statement that I want to make was that Monday of this week in this council chamber, we had year 6 from Camp Hill Primary School who wanted to come into the chamber and debate, and they did, and they elected their own mayor and their own deputy mayor and their own 501 officer, and they chose to debate, should we stop using any plastic? It was an excellent debate. I congratulated them at the end of their debate on the way they behaved themselves and how they respected each other's views. What I would also like to add, if any member wants one of their schools or anything else to either visit the chamber or to come along and have the same debate that Camp Hill Primary had, they will be made more than welcome to do so, because I am aware that politics is now a curriculum item on most schools.
Open to council. Thank you, Madam Mayor. On the 5th of December 2018, full council approved a motion proposed by Councillor Gran regarding the state of the gardens at Catherine Ward Hall in Collycroft, Bedworth. The motion requested that the then Deputy Leader of the Council request officers...
Council you're discussing is anything to do with tonight's meeting. I really would rather prefer to get on with the agenda, if you don't mind. A question that you can ask of officers outside of the meeting. Thank you. Okay, we move to... and Councillor Jackson, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I hope it's working. I've pressed it a couple of times. The Mayor or that we were very privileged as a council to receive an award on Friday of last week from the Federation of Small Business in regard to our procurement services, with specific reference to grounds maintenance procurement and Go Fresh, I think it is, or Go Grow, our agenda. I think that is a tremendous achievement, and I'm sure that every single member of the council would like to congratulate all members who helped us, all officers rather, who helped us secure that award. It is by the Mayor's mace, if anybody wishes to see it afterwards, and it will obviously reside in the Mayor's parlour. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
We'll move on to public participation. The first question statement is from Mrs. M. Condacor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In recent years, there have been many missed opportunities for sustainable walking and cycling routes connecting new developments in the borough. Examples include the loss of a bridge over the canal between Camp Hill Phase 4 and Vernon's Lane and Beaumont Road, and the loss of the proposed bridge across the Weddington Road for the Weddington Trail as part of the Myra expansion. We now have the potential situation of development, both employment and residential, proposed on either side of the Coventry Canal to the north of Gypsy Lane, which depend on a walking and cycling route over the turnover bridge, with neither the Borough or County Council seemingly willing or able to facilitate the necessary agreements. Will the portfolio holder for planning work with officers from both the Borough and County Councils before the applications get to the Planning Applications Committee to ensure that this critical infrastructure does get delivered and we don't end up with people having to walk and cycle down the dangerous Gypsy Lane? Thank you.
Councillor Phillips.
That my eyesight, Philip. As you are aware, at the present moment in time, we're dealing with planning applications for the residential developments at Gypsy Lane and employment land at Falklands Farm, both of which will be reported to the Planning Applications Committee shortly. The policies for both sites include trying to secure a footpath and a cycleway, which would be greatly needed, link between the two developments over the canal and further links to Bermuda Station and beyond. Unfortunately, the turnover bridge is not owned by either of the landowners who have submitted the applications, and so they cannot deliver the crossing themselves. The bridge is owned by the Canal and River Trust. The Planning Committee will be asked to consider how best to secure contributions from the developers towards the provision of the footpath cycleway should they be minded to approve the applications. Officers will be working to ensure that once this payment has been made, the footpath cycleway will be implemented. It is the clear intention that the link will be provided. Thank you, Mayor.
Further question from Miss Harmony Hunt.
To Julie Jackson. My name is Harmony Hunt and I'm 9 years old. There are thousands of houses that are going to be built in my in my area alone, but hopefully this speech will help change your mind. So let's begin. So first of all, school traffic will be more dangerous. School traffic is bad enough already, but with more cars and people, it will be worse. Plus, all the schools are full in this area. So where are all the children of these new houses going to be educated? Doctor surgeries already struggle with the number of patients needing appointments. How are they going to cope with thousands more people to care for? Roads are already at capacity. It's going to be practically impossible to get anywhere at peak times. Following on from that, the air will be more toxic from carbon emissions produced by all the new cars in the area. This is also not going to help the global climate change crisis we are currently in. Our borough, our NO2 levels, that's nitrogen dioxide for anyone who doesn't know, are already too high. Houses and cars will not help the situation, but at the moment the Greenbelt is helping. Instead of houses, let's plant some trees and help improve our borough's air quality. Don't use the Greenbelt, use the brownfield sites that are already there, ready and waiting to be developed. Also, with new people moving into the area, will there be enough jobs for everyone? There is an abundance of wildlife in my area. Badgers, birds, foxes, bats, and my mum even witnessed a deer crossing the road. Where are these animals meant to live if you destroy their homes? Put it this way, would you like it if an alien came down from outer space and destroyed your home and told you to get out? Because that's exactly what you're doing to the wildlife. As a child myself, I love to explore the countryside and see what nature has to offer. If you build all these houses, how long before you cover the rest of the Greenbelt? Then where are children like me meant to explore and learn? Families move to this area to be surrounded by nature. They don't want to see it all gone. My name's Harmony Hunt. I'm 9 years old. If I know this is wrong, so should you. Protect our future. Thank you for listening. Please reconsider building these houses.
Well done, Harmony. Councillor Jackson. Or Councillor Phillips.
And well done. Thank you for your question and obviously coming along tonight to ask it. With regards to school and traffic, there is a provision in the local plan for 5 new primary schools, of which the first in Weddington will open this September, although only to a few pupils. There's also a provision for a secondary school in Nuneaton. Obviously, we're disappointed that the application that was put through recently was turned down by government, but I'm sure that will come around again. For the smaller developments of homes, a contribution is required, right, to expand some of the existing schools. The schools are not likely to be provided before the development begins, however, as houses take about 1 year from start to finish, and on most developments only about 40 houses would be finished in any year. So it would be some time before children on any sort of new homes would need a new school. Where homes are given planning permission and new school places are required, the people that build the homes have to pay over money to the county council towards building these new schools or extending schools that are already in place. So, regards to school traffic, the aim of this home building programme that we've got is to encourage parents to use alternative methods of delivering pupils to those schools. And as has been mentioned before, this is to be done by ensuring that our footpaths, cycleways within the home developments to link to the existing and new schools. Once again, Harmony, the companies that build these homes will have to pay money towards doctor surgeries where they are required to, or again, to expand doctor surgeries that are already there. I'm sorry, I should be talking to you, Madam Mayor. Alongside the borough plan is a delivery plan which sets out which roads need to be improved to cope with the new homes that are being built. And again, these costs have to be borne by the companies that build the homes. We do not form, I don't know where you're from, Harmony, but we are working with Coventry on reducing pollution in our area. Our plan also includes new employment sites for jobs, while some greenbelt land will be used for development. There are still many areas of the borough which are still remain in the greenbelt. I think we will still have about 46 to 50% greenbelt area within the borough. Planning homes for people and employment land for people is a balance, Harmony, between providing houses to meet the needs of the area and protecting, as you quite rightly said, countryside, and the way this council has undertaken this balance in producing our plan has been independently assessed by a government inspector. It has been found to be the right way to go. It has been found sort of sound, or in other words, okay. And it was adopted on June the 10th. A timetable for the review of the plan will shortly be published, and at any time, send me an email. If you want to get involved, Extinct Rebellion, brilliant. Thank you very much.
Okay, we move on to item 8, which is special emergency decisions, which currently we have none. We are aware that a decision is pending, which was published after this agenda was printed. So therefore, it cannot be discussed tonight, but the issue is going to Cabinet next week and to the full council meeting in September.
I deem to be of special urgency, which I would like to report to Council. Will be very quick. In accordance with Section 2 of the Council's Overview and Scrutiny Guide, page 5, which forms part of the Council's constitution, chairs of Overview and Scrutiny panels are obliged to submit an annual report to full Council each municipal year to advise Council on
Special urgency item. Thank you. Oh. Councillor Tromans.
I was indicating throughout Section 6, Item 6, about announcements, and I just wanted to speak on the announcement that Councillor Jackson made in relation to the awards that the Council has received. No, but I did indicate previously, and you just didn't. I think the officer may have seen me, but you didn't. I waited until after the public had spoken. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Would you oblige me by telling me when you will take my point? Sorry, Madam Mayor, I didn't hear that. When will you take my point?
We were not taking your point under this urgency decision, and I can see nowhere on the agenda where you may be able to speak to it. Thank you. Agenda item 9, political balance.
was going to say, I believe is a break of the Constitution, and therefore I deem this to be a point of order. In accordance with Section 2 of the Council's Overview and Scrutiny Guide, page 5, which forms part of the Constitution, Chairs of overview and scrutiny panels are obliged to submit an annual report.
Has this been the subject of a special urgency decision? Has it or has it not? I don't need to be told how to do it. Councillor Evans, I am not taking this issue as a point under special urgency decisions. Please sit down. Agenda item 9, political balance. You have raised a point of order and I have answered it, Councillor Evans. I am not taking this.
What kind of council is this?
Who was that? I make the decisions as to who speaks in this meeting, madam. 30 seconds, Councillor Evans, and that's the end of it.
Overview and Scrutiny Guide, page 5. Chairs of Overview and Scrutiny panels are obliged to submit an annual report to full council each municipal year to advise council on progress and the work completed by OSPs during the course of the municipal year. In the last municipal year, 18-19, no annual report from the OSP chairs was submitted to full council regarding the 17-18 municipal year. Can I ask why a report was never submitted? And secondly, can we ensure that a report for the 18-19 municipal year be submitted to full council for scrutiny at the earliest opportunity?
Well, certainly, Councillor Evans, I do not consider that was a point of order. And if you want to ask those questions, then perhaps you should ask officers outside of this meeting. Thank you. Moving on to item 9, political balance.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With respect, I'd like to move this report. Members will be aware that on the 19th of June, Councillors Andy and Jane Sargent decided to form an independent political group on the council and leave the official Conservative group on the council. The 3 group leaders have all agreed this report in front of you, Madam Mayor, so therefore I have every pleasure in proposing that we agree the recommendations that set out the new composition of the council.
Seconder for that proposal. Thank you. Councillor Condacor.
I'm disappointed that some of the committees don't have any members on other than Labour and Conservative. Obviously, my actual number of things I've been appointed to is better now I'm on the NABCEL board, but I am disappointed that the local plan committee, which is really important, is still made up of members only of the 2 big parties. Because I believe this will be quite confrontational. So I do ask, if we are sticking with that Councillor Phillips can look at getting some independent members, some of our extra people on that panel to try and make it less controversial. Other than that, I'm also on the appeals panel, which I was last year, and had no training for it. So I do think we need to train people if these arrangements are going to be kept. Thank you.
To follow on from what Councillor Condacor has said, I do believe that it's not going to be confrontational because planning is actually not political. It's based on facts, so it doesn't matter if they have a Green representative or not on planning, but I'm sure we'll hear all about that later on Twitter.
Councillor Jackson, you have the right of reply. Do you wish to exercise it?
It makes a valid point about training. If we're going to sit on committees, we need to be trained to do so. So I will ask officers if we can have appeal training. And I've had the nod from our head of legal that actually that training will be forthcoming. It's a point well made. Training is something we should all undertake. Madam Mayor, I have nothing else to say. I think this does have cross support from all 3 groups on the council.
Can we take the vote? All those in favour of the changes to the political balance, please show. Is there anyone against? Councillor Kwan recorded. Thank you. That is carried. We then move on to item 10 of the agenda, which is the Cabinet. And I would remind members that it is questions only with no preamble. So is there anyone who wishes to... Councillor Jackson.
Report and say that myself and colleagues on Cabinet are more than happy to answer any queries that people may have.
Councillor Evans.
My questions are to the portfolio holder for planning and development. With regards to report 2C1, Statement of Common Ground with the Woodlands Action Group, the Cabinet approved that the Woodlands Action Group be offered the opportunity to agree a factual statement of common ground with the council. Could I ask the portfolio holder, so that we have it on public record on the cameras, what communication to date the planning department have had with the Woodlands Action Group on signing a statement of common ground? My second question, with regards to report 3B1, consideration of the inspector's report on the borough plan, is the portfolio holder in any position to give me any sort of indication as to which landowner on the Woodlands is going to cough up the £4 million needed for the new road infrastructure? My residents keep on asking myself and Councillor Gran this question. I'm being left in the dark. I can't give them an answer. Can you?
Councillor.
Would come up, so I did check, and we have had no correspondence back, or as far as I was told today, we have had no correspondence back from the Woodlands Action Group. The statement of common ground is still there to be negotiated, to be talked about whenever the Woodlands Action Group and our officers wish to meet, because going forward, there are common grounds. You know, and if we could put that down on paper, we could do so. But at the present moment in time, we have had no word from the Woodlands Action Group. You might know differently, but that's what I've been told today, and that's all I can say. Regarding the landowner and who's going to pay for this, that and the other, I haven't got a clue. I've got as much notice of you. All right, thank you.
One is on the other items bit on the page 57, which was talking about the knife angel, particularly in relation to the chaos that happened in Nuneaton on Monday night and the comments from the Mayor of London about the austerity leading to the problems he has in London. Can the Leader of the Council tell us if that knife angel sculpture could be brought to Nuneaton, and also if she agrees with the Mayor of London on the wider issue of the austerity adding to the problems we've got in parts of our borough? Thank you.
Lecondicourt for his question. Yes, I would agree that it is ludicrous to suggest that austerity hasn't led to many of the issues we face with crime and disorder at the moment. It is very sad that knife crime has occurred in Nuneaton and Bedworth. We would all wish that people did not feel they had to carry knives. We are pursuing the opportunities of having the knife angel within our borough. At least officers have been charged with that. At this moment in time, I can't give you a date of when we may get the knife angel, or indeed if we are going to get it, but I believe we have requested such a measure. So in conclusion, yes, I agree with the statements of the Mayor of London.
Councillor Wilson.
Madam Mayor, in relation to agenda item 4AI, the General Fund Housing Revenue Account and Capital Programme Outturn 1819, there are a couple of items. The Civic Hall budget in the Cabinet Papers revealed that there was an overspend compared to the approved budget because the controlling group decided that they would go against their own budget recommendation that went to Budget Council in February 18 about the offerings on the cafe. Could the portfolio holder explain why she decided to allow an overspend on this particular budget across the council when it was a budgetary decision which was voted on by this whole council, and if they were going to go against that budgetary decision, it would have been quite right and proper to bring it back to full council to reconsider that decision. That isn't a democratic oversight. And also, continuing with the Civic Hall, the bar takings are down, surprise, surprise. When you put up the price of drinks by 5p, the bar takings have gone down, and that is killing the goose that lays the golden egg at the Civic Hall, because that's one of the few areas which makes a profit. So will the portfolio holder undertake to review that decision to look at how we can maximise bar takings on that front, and perhaps even include allowing people to, heaven forbid, use a credit card payment machine instead of having to pay cash, which would actually help generate revenue and see throughput at the bar a lot quicker? Thank you.
Well, I mean, firstly, yes, it's correct. Bar takings were down, but these are not down to price increases or anything else, because the prices haven't gone up yet. They don't go up until the end of this month. What has happened at the Civic Hall is quite simple. We've changed the food offer within the Civic Hall. Now, if you take, for example, the bar takings, I think, and I'm going off, don't quote me on exact figures, about 16,000 that they're talking about. If you go on those bar takings, there's extra £3,500 gone into coffee and tea. So coffee and tea's gone up by £3,500. The food offer that we put on has changed, you quite rightly say. It was going to be tea and cakes, but one of the biggest problems was that the cross-contamination of food at the time. You needed 2 people if you did anything other than tea and cakes. And the local residents, everybody that were there, was screaming they still wanted a food offer on at the Civic Hall. So we did proceed with a food offer. We did put an extra member of staff in there. And I can tell you that the catering service that is going on at the Civic Hall, even with the 5k setup costs and the extra member of staff, the catering service there has washed its face. It's drawing even. So that's even with those extras. So it is working. As I said, the tea and coffee's gone up. We're selling more tea and coffee. And the reason for that is because the type of food offer that we're putting on now is it's quick food. It's chips and egg and sausage, egg and bacon and that type of thing. Whereas before, it was a sit-down type of meal. So in a sit-down type of meal, yes, people would have a bottle of pop or a beer or a glass of wine with their dinner. That isn't happening now. What they're doing, they're having a cup of coffee or they're having a light drink, a fruit drink. So we have reviewed it. We have looked at it. We're continuously reviewing it. In actual fact, we've just, or the staff have just reviewed it again, and they're moving from Saturday to Wednesday. I think it's a Wednesday, because they're not making the money on the Saturday. So it's continuously changing. And if I or the officers had to come back to full council every time that they wanted to make an operational change, it'd be a farce. So, no, yes, we are reviewing it. We're reviewing it continuously. It is working. Yes, the bar takings are down, but other aspects of it have gone up because of the bar takings going down. It's as simple as that.
Lloyd, just a reminder that we are just on questions to Cabinet members. Councillor
Brown. Question follows on item 4A from the point that Councillor Wilson made. We note this overspend at the Civic Hall, and Councillor Wilson quite rightly asked why we don't allow payments by card at the bar. Before joining this council last year, I was a trustee at the Abbey Theatre in Nuneaton. It's a small volunteer-run theatre. They allow you to purchase tickets for future shows by... My question is, only credit card payments to be made over the bar, and why don't we allow the bar to be open after shows like other theatres, which is a revenue-generating item for them? Thank you.
We're continuously reviewing what happens at the Civic Hall. on a weekly, monthly, yearly, quarterly. We're reviewing all the time. We've looked at keeping the bar open after time, and that's fact. We did it at one stage, and the amount of custom that stayed behind to use the bar was very, very little at that time. I see no reason why we can't try it again. But I was there not so long ago. Well, I was there this weekend. And I actually stood by the doors. And it's a mass exodus at the end of any show. The doors are open and people are gone. They're gone to the cars because they want to get home. But I will have a look at it. I will ask officers to go away and have a look at reviewing whether we can keep the bar open for a period of time afterwards. But again, it'll all come down to cost. On the other one, on the credit cards at the bar, I'll ask the question.
Thank you. 3AI, the NABSCOP item, which into the portfolio holder, Councillor Watkins. As Councillor Watkins will be aware, the same item that was approved at Cabinet came to Overview and Scrutiny Panel. If I remember correctly, it was one that he was chairing. And we actually had no officer to present the report, or rather complex, detailed and full of a lot of technical jargon. Can I ask the Cabinet member if he'll go away and look at ensuring that in future we have support from officers for those kind of particularly very heavy and technical reports? Thank you.
I was chairing it, and as I said at the time, we'd just lost officers that left. But you're right, we did need an officer there, a director, and I will make sure that happens in future. But as I did say at the scrutiny as well, it's the same. It's pretty much the same things we've been adopting for the past 9 years, anyway, for NABSCOP. But yeah, point taken. We took on board.
Portfolio holder for Central Services. Within the Delivering Our Future 1931 delivery plan on page 16 of the Cabinet report, it states that by March 2020 the Council will evaluate options for shared environmental health and licensing services with Coventry City Council. If this means a reduction in service for our residents, particularly involving services around public protection and public health, I have a lot of concerns. Can the portfolio holder update me on what stage of the evaluation her department is at?
Councillor Phillips.
Yeah, regarding environment and public protection, it would basically come under me. I don't know where the Cabinet report was or Central Services, but regarding evaluation of environmental health and public protection services and also working with Coventry, those talks are continuing at the present moment in time. And basically that's all I can say about it. But believe me, there won't be no loss of service, although the service might change as things do.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question is to Cabinet of research. Let's get it right. It'll either be Finance and Civic Affairs or Central Services and Refuge. Could they tell me, we were told that Gresham Road and St Mary's Road, there were no other costs involved, yet I see on the non-distributed costs, there is a 46k NDR cost of St Mary's Road depot before sale. Could she explain it to me, please? Thank you.
I will ensure you get a written answer to make sure the figures are right.
Councillor Shepherd. Councillor Tromans. Back. Councillor Tromans.
Thank you, Madam. First of all, just a very brief one, finishing off on item 4. The first thing Councillor Wilson was asking, and I think the point didn't really get understood. Nobody's asking for every single decision that's made at the Civic Hall to come back to this chamber. It's just a budget was agreed, and then there's been an approval of a £67,000 overspend by the portfolio holder and the Cabinet, it would have been proper for that to have been referred back to the council, I think. And the portfolio holder or leader might want to explain why that didn't happen. Moving on to section 3AI, the NABSCOP report. I appreciate the comment from Councillor Watkins and the assurance about there being an officer there in future, because it is difficult for my colleagues, to really scrutinise that if there isn't that technical expertise. Again, and I think your answer summed it up perfectly, Councillor Watkins, we're putting in pretty much the same stuff we've done for a number of years. There's been several requests by me and others in council meetings recorded previously to have those NABSCOP policies, those documents, those plans much more specific, far more targets that are measurable and that we can actually influence here at the Borough. I see there's an awful lot of stuff just copied and pasted in from the Safer Warwickshire Partnership, and Warwickshire and the county and county-wide entities are in a position to do stuff about substance and abuse that we're not, and about organised crime gangs and cybercrime that we're not. So it needs to be more relevant to the Borough, and I'm asking that this will, in future, go more widely to seek the community's view on what should be our priorities, rather than just copying the Warwickshire Safer Partnership. Thank you.
Councillor Watt. Two questions. Councillor Lloyd first, then Councillor Watkins.
First question, but I will say the Civic Hall is a massive building with Civic Hall written on it, right in the town centre of Bedworth. If Councillor Wilson or Councillor Troman would like to go along and visit Tim Norton up there, I'm sure he'll take you through the finances of the bar and everything else, parrot fashion. I'm sure he'll do that for you. Then you might understand it. Madam Mayor, I don't intend to answer the question again. I answered it the first time.
Councillor Troman, but as I say, with the NABSCOP, they are relevant to the Borough. It's just that we do need to make it a little bit clearer, and so that'll be done. That's not a problem at all. So yeah.
Now have Councillor Condacor, and then Councillor Evans will be the finals.
For page 59, which is the West Midlands Combined Authority item E, it mentions the climate change emergency, which is getting up the political ladder, and that the West Midlands Combined Authority not only took a decision on it, but is having another report on it on the 29th of July. Will the Cabinet member, either the leader or Neil Phillips, tell me what the Borough Council's doing in terms of declaring our climate change emergency, and if he's willing to work and get cross-party support for some sort of motion, maybe at September meeting, so that this borough can actually join in with what the West Midlands Combined Authority is doing, Warwickshire is doing, and everyone else is doing in actually raising this emergency up the agenda. I know people like Brent have done a lot about climate change in the past, and I'd love this borough to actually have something that's actually a really good cross-party vote on the climate change emergency, so we actually again put some action in as well. Thank you.
That climate change is here, from my personal point of view, and I think possibly this group over this side actually knows climate change is a major issue. Personally, in my cabinet position, I will be at the West Midlands myself this Friday, or next Friday, but I am more than happy for people or councillors, like-minded councillors, to look at what this council can do and what type of motion we can put forward and where we can exert pressure on other organisations, be it the county, the police, whatever, to do, because this is a very important issue, Madam Mayor.
Councillor.
I do apologise, I put it towards Councillor Shepherd. I thought you was in charge of licensing. I do apologise. I've got two questions to the leader in her capacity as portfolio holder for finance. With regards to the combined authority, the authority has recently launched an initiative called the Mayor's Community Fund. The combined authority gives out grants to charities that bring communities together during the weekends. However, the fund is only available to constituent members of the authority. Considering we send £25,000 a year to the combined authority, will the leader consider raising at the next board meeting the possibility of extending this grant to charities within non-constituent authorities? And my second question to the leader is with regards to the General Fund, HRA and Capital Programme Outturn 1819. It states in the report that in the last financial year the Civic Hall went £67,000 over its budget. It seems that this is now happening every financial year. The Civic Hall is clearly an important asset to our residents and to Bedworth as a town. As such, we need to ensure that we get best value for money for taxpayers. Therefore, can I ask the leader to consider asking Linda Downs, the council's internal audit and governance manager, to conduct an investigation into why the Civic Hall continues to overspend on its budget each year?
Mr. Jackson.
Midlands Combined Authority. I'm going to ask that officers prepare a briefing note for all members that sets out what matters that the West Midlands Combined Authority deals with that appertain to constituent members and what matters appertain to non-constituent members, because clearly there are some matters that we are not able to exercise a vote in. Much to my chagrin, we are not a member of the West Midlands Transport Authority. No. For example, I would really wish us to be a member so that people in our borough, in Nuneaton and Bedworth, could get the same cheap bus and train travel that people in the West Midlands can get. We are a stone's throw away from our neighbours in the West Midlands, and yet we are denied that opportunity. We had a motion to full council not long ago exactly about this matter, and we have indeed, I believe Brent Davis has written to Warwickshire County Council urging them to join the West Midlands Transport Authority. So in order to clarify these matters, I will ask if officers can send out a briefing note explaining in very simple terms what matters are those where non-constituent members can benefit and what matters aren't. In regard to the General Fund and HRA, there have been several answers given by Councillor Lloyd in regard to the Civic Hall tonight, and I'm not going to add further to those answers. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Your point, who was that? Councillor Evans.
Madam Mayor, I'm not really happy with the leader's response with regards to my Civic Hall question. Therefore, in accordance with the Constitution, page 100, in order to move a motion without notice, should such a procedural motion be passed, I intend to move a motion requesting that the leader instruct audit to conduct a formal investigation into the management of the Civic Hall.
I'm sorry, Councillor Evans, that was not a point of order. You are actually asking for a procedural motion. No, you are not to have excuse me, that is not a point of order. And I have no intention of taking it as one. Thank you. Advise Councillor Evans to ask you what rules and what laws have been broken based on the comments you have just made.
Precise ruling is on page 136. It's 4A12N. And my point of order, I am entitled as a councillor to move a procedural motion, and I would call for an adjournment.
You can, as a point of order, Councillor Evans.
Could I
have taken advice from the... You cannot move a procedural motion under a point of order. That is the advice I have received from the Borough Solicitor. Double checking to be absolutely sure, but currently that is the advice I have received. Right. It says on the points of order on page 6 of your agenda, a point of third point down, A point of order may only relate to an alleged breach of these council rules and of procedure or the law. So therefore it is not a point of order, Councillor. Is the end of the discussion.
Point of order, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Wilson.
Could I add the button numerous times? According to an email that I had, if it will come up, from the Borough Solicitor when I investigated this before, and I quote, Mr Richardson said, suspension, this is about suspending standing orders, suspension can only be for the duration on the meeting. On the assumption that half of the councillors are present, you can raise a point of order and move suspension of CPR 11. If approved, then you are at liberty to move your motion. Now, if you are getting different advice to what I am, Madam Mayor, which hasn't been the first time whoever is sitting in the chair, then this isn't fair on the members of the opposition. This is meant to be a democracy, not a tin pot dictatorship like Zimbabwe.
Not have that sort of behaviour in these meetings. Please be more respectful of this council. No. Right, I am now being advised that we are going to adjourn for 5 minutes. I would wish the leaders of the Labour groups to join me in the parlour. Thank you.